Hello again and welcome to Gabbit Media. I'm Grant Abbott and you're watching animation number 3, Angry. And this time I've done an angry character saying some silly things. I'm just looking at the timeline because he's coming up around about now.
So you think you can come in here with your special animations and think you're something? Well, you're nothing. Nothing!
Okay, so it wasn't the best. Here's me doing the sort of reference video for this. It wasn't the best. I had lots of problems and I went back to 2.79 trying to kind of figure out these problems and work it out. Mainly the problem is getting it into Sketchfab. And if you've got a complicated rig with anything sort of special going on at all, then Sketchfab doesn't like that, which is kind of fair enough really, because it can handle, was it just bones and basic sort of Ika and stuff, but anything else it struggles with. And I thought I'd try a different rig to try different things out, because obviously I want the facial expressions in this one. So I was trying this rig. I didn't like the cartoon guy because I could not get the IK to work on the arms. There must be a switch somewhere to go from IK to FK, and it's just stuck on FK and I cannot find the switch anywhere. I suppose I should try and get in touch with the person who made the rig, but it's probably just that it's not compatible with 2.8. I do much prefer 2.8 for animating. There's a few things that I just find much easier. Scrubbing across the timeline with right click just seems much more intuitive to pick up, and I found it hard to do it in because I'm right click selecting frames and then left click dragging in 2.79, and I just found that really awkward, even though I ought to be more used to 2.79 with the bits of animation that I've done. I haven't used a lot of I haven't used 2.8 for a lot of animation yet. Anyway, I should say I'm going to review a few at the end, well, show a few at the end. I can't show everybody's because it's been a massive response to the idle animation was the ones I'm going to show in a second. I'm just amazed at how many people are joining in with animation. Like I said last week, I was expecting about 10, maybe 20 people to join in with me with my journey, which is basically what my channel is about. It's a bit of tutorials, but it's also about a journey of discovering my inner 3D artist. So this stage is animation, and it's nice of you to all join me. So I hope you're having fun too. I'm certainly having fun with it, but it was frustrating this time, and I would have liked to have gone much further with this. At least now I feel like I'm getting to understand the extra detail that's needed. I said this probably last time, I think, where when I first started sculpting, I'd think, well, I think that's finished. But you didn't even realise what you were missing, the details. And now I'm starting to see what I could have added if I were a bit more skillful for one, and just had a bit more time as well. I think this was 2.5 hours just raw recording. Obviously that's breaks and things around that, but just looking at the recording time. And this is speeded up 700%. So you can see I'm working quite slowly in a sense. I found this rig, this is Mike, this rig from Blendswop as well. There is a reason I chose Mike is because, well, one, the IK was working everywhere, and it's got one built for 2.8 and one built for 2.79 as well. But I didn't like the rig actually. It's probably again my inexperience and not really understanding how it works. But there was a few controls that sort of caught me out, especially when it came to the fingers. I like the cartoon guy because you just scale and they go out and in, and I need something simplistic like that when I'm doing a lot of animation. This I would say was a better rig, but then it's more complicated, so it just takes more time to move all the little fingers and things. I suppose a shortcut that's a tip that's worth knowing. If you select, let's say you've got bones along there and you want to rotate that finger, you can select all the bones and then rotate by individual origins. That means it will rotate this bone, and this bone by their individual origins and come in and or out. And also in this case it was the local x-axis going across, so I was pressing RXX to do the local x-axis. Hopefully that makes sense to people out there and it's not new to you. The other thing that was so useful, and I'll probably put this in a tutorial, is what's it called? Display selecting only the object channel in the graph editor and the dope sheet. So there's a little arrow next to the weird ghost thing, which is really, really useful. And and weirdly in 2.8 it seems to be default, and that's why I thought, oh, this is great 2.8, because I never knew about that button. I know that's a bit thick with me really, but I should know about these things. And I do lots of tutorials and look at these lots of things up, but you just sort of miss things or you forget things. But it's really important that when you select a bone, you can go and find it in the dope sheet. This is a complex rig, so I was looking around for the head bone in my graph editor thinking, where on earth is it? Because there was a head proxy and there was a head, and I was just scrolling through for ages. But there is a button, like I say, a little arrow next to the ghost, that whatever you have selected, it will only show you the keyframes or the graphs for that one thing you've selected. Obvious point, but it really makes a massive difference when you've got a huge rig with lots of bones and things. So you'll see me struggle with that in a second. I'm just going to zoom out a bit here so I know where I am on my timeline. There we go, so I can see how far through I am. So yes, so that was absolutely vital. And an interesting thing, well actually I suppose I ought to say I started with the blocking out phase. So I had my character reference in the corner there. You can see me doing my kind of joke at people who are better at animating than me, pretending I'm annoyed at them. So you come in here with your special animations and think you're something, and you're nothing. Obviously the joke. I actually appreciate all your hard work, animators, so that I'm not criticising you in any way. I'm just being silly. So I've got a tutorial actually on how you can bring that reference video in. It's quite handy to have the whole video with the sound in there, and it's quite easy as well using the sequence editor, which used to be called the video sequence editor, I think. I hope I've got that the right way around, but it's the sequence editor I think in 2.8. But it's very easy and you can look that tutorial up. I'll try and remember to put a link in the description. So that's with my reference image in there, and I'm copying it fairly closely. What I wanted to do, and I did a bit of it, was to copy it fairly closely for the main sort of blocking out phase, and then obviously go through lip syncing, blocking out, and then exaggerate afterwards. So if I think the arm sort of swings down, and I wanted to go much further and a shoulder movement with it, and getting that sort of timing right and the swing, those details. Unfortunately, I kind of ran out of time, and this is sort of like the end of the day. Now what are we? Just 5:15, and I really think I ought to get this video done and dusted, so that I can have a life outside this. I'm supposed to go out this evening. Anyway, I'm rambling now. But where was I? Oh yes, so blocking out those phases. Yeah, and I ran out of time, so I wasn't able to put those details in. And the details are kind of the fun bit, I think, where your mesh seems to suddenly get a life. And I've been watching, I'll try and put a link in the description. Someone recommended it on Discord and said this guy's really good, and I thought I'll have a look. And their videos are really great. There doesn't seem that many out there for animating. Maybe I just haven't searched enough yet, because I'm kind of new to animation to a degree. Whereas modelling, I know sort of all the major people out there, as it were. But there do seem to be a lot more modellers out there rather than animators. I think, in fact, if you're looking for jobs, you're better off going into things like rigging and animation, because there's less people that do that, and everybody loves to do modelling. I'm going to quickly say actually. I've the person. Yeah. So I'll try and remember to put a link in the description to his channel, because he hasn't got that many subscribers actually, but he's really got some great stuff on there about animation and how to get those sort of details, those really sort of cool details that make things look alive, but not only alive because it's not like motion capture, but stylized and alive. It's just brilliant. So I'll show you that. If I forget, please someone remind me that I need to put that link in. Anyway, this is the weird thing, and I still don't really understand Euler and Euler rotation fully, because I have this head bone, and I think it's this bit, where I'm scrolling up and down, trying to find the head bone, and I realised later that there's that little arrow button I can press. But the head was going all over the place like this. I'm thinking, well, why is that? Because the rotation from here to here is the same as the rotation from there to there, but backwards. But for some reason it was doing this. And when I did find the graph editor, there it is, the graph went miles up in the air. So why is that? And I was thinking, well, there must be, maybe I've twisted it around twice or something strange like that, but if I tried to move it, it seemed to move it in the wrong way. So it was right. And I'm thinking, what have I done here? What's going on? And I'm still trying to figure it out in my head. Because obviously if you have a parent or something and the child just sort of moves along with it and it doesn't need to be animated, then you move the child and then it still keeps its local axis. I'm just very confused. So someone who's very clever out there can probably say, what you're forgetting, Grant, is, fill in the blank please, because I had to so I just went on a frame and moved it back into position, on a frame, moved it back into position, and I still don't understand what went wrong. I should look back at the graph editor, but I was kind of in a rush at this point, trying to just quickly sort these things out. Useful to know, obviously left and right arrows to scroll through your timeline, but up and down arrows to go through your keyframes. That's quite handy, and I'd kind of forgotten about that, so when I noticed that the other day, when in fact I looked it up, I thought, what is it to jump a keyframe? It's quite easy just to jump forward and backwards to your keyframe, especially when you're blocking out. That's very handy. Anyway, I feel like I'm babbling on with this stuff. What else have I got in here? I've talked about most of my cringy acting. That's something worth talking about, really, because in some ways I just got to get over myself and just do it. That's my sort of motto in some ways. It's obviously Nike's motto as well. But I think it really is important just to go and do it. And the more important thing about just do it is don't worry about the consequences. So obviously doing my silly idle animation last week, one of my students got hold of my video and memed me, if that's a word, and I think someone else did as well, but it was kind of crying out to be memed, and this one is even worse, really, and as I was acting, I was thinking, this is going to become a meme in some way of Grant, well, whatever, and so, but that's a good thing, because it kind of it's good to be able to make fun of yourself. And the reason I'm saying this is that it is important that you do fully act in front of the camera, and I wasn't doing a good job. I was actually slightly conscious that my next door neighbours would hear me, and that felt more embarrassing than seeing me in some strange way. I didn't want them to think I was having an argument with my wife or something like that and shouting at her. It just felt really embarrassing. What I wanted to do was find some old film footage that was copyright free now of someone being angry, and I scoured through YouTube and couldn't find anything, so had to act it. I'm really going to have to find something for lovingly, I think, is the next facial expression one, and I don't think I can do that, and I just don't seem to do that very well. I'm not a particularly romantic guy. I'm babbling now, but anyway, the point being that acting skills are really important as an animator, and getting in front of the camera and doing these things. Whilst I've been sort of researching and looking up people's animations and stuff, it's incredible to see their reference videos that they've done, and they're really sort of flamboyantly acting these different pieces. And there was one person I looked up angry, and there was one person doing sort of like an Incredible Hulk thing, and it looked really cringy. And I thought, I really don't want to do that. And there's me doing a cringy video of myself. But it's very helpful. Without that reference, I'm sure this would have taken twice as long and not looked as good as it is. It's not great, I know that, but it wouldn't have looked as good without that reference. Because quickly going through that blocking out phase, getting those rough poses, is very helpful. What I do think, though, when I was acting, I should have really gone for it with sort of loads of movement, rather than just sort of a simple like I would be if I was a bit angry. You have to really overact, sort of theatre acting. I sometimes think that's the difference between British actors and American actors, and actually for TV I actually often prefer American actors because I feel like their acting is less theatre-ish, and therefore TV you can get in close and you can pick up those sort of nuances of expressions and stuff. But British actors tend to really go for it, like they're on the stage, and I think that's a difference, which is good in this case. If you're doing some animation, you want to really express yourself, but for TV, I don't think it works so well. It looks a bit cringy. Cringy is my word of the day. It's like blobby with Sculpt January. It's cringy for animation. Anyway, oh dear, there's lots left. I probably should have sped this up. Speeded this? No, sped this up. My words are going now. Sped this up a bit more, rather than, was it 700%? Because you can. I'm still working out how to do it in terms of the videos, because it's a little bit tricky. There's sound in them now as well, so I've got to sort of pause while there's sound and stuff. But you can probably see what's going on without it being 700%. So I would thoroughly recommend doubling the speed of this, and then you're watching like a 15-minute video instead of a 30-minute video or so. But actually, what are we? 25-minute video. Anyway, so I went through with the blocking out stages and added a tiny bit of detail for the movement to get it roughly right, and then I went in and did the lip syncing. But what I'm thinking, I probably should have done the lip syncing first, because all the time my character was tilted, and if I wanted to grab something on the Z-axis, I've just thought, why didn't I just grab it on the local Z-axis? Yeah. Do you know, these videos are actually useful for me because I actually end up reviewing my own work, and excuse me, we say in teaching that's one of the most essential things, to look at your work, review it, and what I should have been doing is moving all those points around the mouth in the local axis. Why was I not doing that? Oh dear. Anyway, so it doesn't matter which order you do it in. I wonder, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, I don't know. One sort of tip I learned as I was going along is hide the rest of your bones, because then I can select just those bones and then I can keyframe easily. Hide the rest of your bones so you don't accidentally catch them and then end up re-keying that bone you've actually accidentally caught, if that makes sense. Hopefully this is all making sense and it's all useful to you. If you're still with me, obviously I do appreciate if you've had enough now. Maybe some of you are waiting, you probably skipped to the end, you might have skipped this bit, to see if you have been chosen for the review. There's some great animators in this little community we've got, which is exciting, and it's nice that you're sharing your work. It's good to see, and I hope you're still learning. Well, you're always learning, aren't we? And picking up things all the time. The more we do, the more we learn, and the better we get. It's one of my other mottos, little and often. So practice little and often is the key. Anyway, back to the mouth movements. I didn't like the rig for the mouth either. Again, maybe I'm not understanding this rig. It was good in the sense that I had lots of points that I could adapt. So I could do a snarl and, sorry, I can't talk whilst showing off the snarl. But there's lots of adaptation you can make. But I needed it to be simpler to get it done quicker. I suppose it is a better rig, I suppose, than the cartoon guy. In my opinion, obviously I'm not great at this, but hopefully my opinion means something. But yeah, I think it's a better rig because it's got more details, but the more details you have, the longer the animation's going to take. And I think for this exercise, where we're doing a sort of animation challenge, and we're just trying to be quick, then the cartoon guy rig is probably a better one. Also, I'm sort of thinking it's nice to be able to switch between Ika and Fk, because in this particular rig, and I noticed with some people's work when I was looking through and reviewing, that when you've got IK and you sort of miss a keyframe, or you copy a keyframe from one place to another, let's say my hand's here and then the rest of me is moving, that hand stays still, it looks very unnatural. The hand would move a bit, and Fk would have done that. He said as soon as I move my shoulder, this would all move with it, being a child of it. But IK, it will stay still, and you need to make sure you're moving your IK around just subtly and don't miss keyframes. So if I've keyframed the shoulders, don't miss a keyframe here and copy and paste the next keyframe Hopefully that makes sense, and you'll see it, you're probably noticing it in your own animations. Why are they looking static? If they're not brilliant. But that's one of the problems that lots of beginners have, and I notice it in my own work a lot. Oh yeah, I've copied that keyframe because I needed to keep that position, but there needs to be some sort of movement as well. So watch out for that with IK. Definitely with the legs, I think. I mean, obviously it's nice to be able to turn IK and FK on and off, but with legs, because they're pinned to the ground, you want them static. So the foot, you want to stay still whilst the body's moving, because the feet don't want to slide around the place. I mean, it's handy to be able to turn them off, because if you're doing something like a somersault, for example, which is coming up, then that's quite handy in a way. Being able to turn them off and on. And I think, especially the Rigify rigs, you can, there's an option to snap to the IK and then snap to the FK and stuff, which I've not looked into a lot, because I tend to stick with one or the other, because it's just another complication, obviously. So it's quite hard work to do all these different things. But hopefully I'll get there and learn a few more things as we're going along. I'm certainly learning a lot already. I hope you are. Perhaps comment below about the things that you have learned so far. It's fascinating, isn't it? Just doing, suddenly you pick things up and you think, oh yeah, why didn't I think of that? It makes a massive difference. Because it's like that when I'm teaching. I can teach till my face is blue. It's the expression, I think. But unless someone is doing it, especially with these practical subjects that I teach, they're not going to learn and they're not going to pick it up. And it's much more about doing it. By all means, watch tutorials, but do the tutorials as well. And that's obviously key. Yeah, hopefully that's fairly obvious. So I'm sort of getting there now. It's quite nice at this stage. It felt like it was a bit more alive, but it was a bit stiff. And that's something else that I suddenly thought, hang on a minute, I haven't got Eevee, so what am I going to do? There is an Opengl Render, so it's the sort of film box in the 3D window. It looks like a sort of clapperboard, and that's the Opengl Render. And that does just a really basic viewport type preview, because the viewport is run by Opengl. I'm probably saying the wrong thing there, but that's what I roughly understand. So it does a very, very quick render, because when you're playing back, I don't know about you, but my system is dropping frames all over the place. So it gets tougher to animate when you're dropping frames. And what looks to be fairly smooth because it's dropping so many frames, but when you actually render it out, then you start seeing the issues. It is making me think maybe it's time to upgrade my system. I don't know. It's very nice that Transmit This gave me a 1070 graphics card, which was wonderful, and that's making a huge difference to my workflow. But I started to think maybe my processor needs upgrading, and that makes me think maybe make the step and get a super duper system. I say super duper, but reasonably super duper system. Yeah, it would be good fun. So any recommendations? I'm sort of half looking for recommendations. 1080 or the two 1080s or the 2080 RTX. Anyway, here we have the animation again. So the final animation.
So you think you can come in here with your special animations and think you're something? Well, you're nothing. Nothing!
There we go. So here's some of the best of what I've seen. Anyway, this is Kevin, can't remember, Kevin someone, and it was, I thought this was really nice. It's fairly straightforward animation, but all the movement, it's all working quite well, and it's flowing nicely. Simple but good, I think, is the key there. This is a very nice one. Sorry, I'm not getting people's names, but this is a nice smooth one as well. I like the idea of looking around and then crouching down again. Clever idea. I suppose it's sort of a bit of a cliche idea, but it's worked well. Nicely worked here. Good job there. Who else have we got? I'm seeing the same one again. I want to show them a few times. Oh, this is a really nice one. Hang on, who was this one? Who was this? I'm getting all the names wrong. Anyway, it's really helpful if you can put your name on your video, and I know I'm saying upload to Sketchfab, but which is actually kind of awkward. But if you've got a video as well, then put your name on the video, and it's possibly easier for me to quickly show it. But it is nice to review in Sketchfab, so I do appreciate that as well. This is not quite as good as the other ones, but I can tell this person's a beginner, but what they're doing is they're doing quite a nice job of moving everything, and that's a point I wanted to make that I was making earlier. So make sure you are moving everything. Now this person knows what they're doing, Andriy Kozrienko, and this is very smooth. You can't really fault it, I don't think. Can you? Maybe someone else can. I didn't show much of it though, annoyingly. And this one I wanted to review slightly because I like the idea with the bat hitting the foot, but I wanted to say when you're leaning onto one foot, remember weight and think about your character's weight, because he would fall over at that point because he hasn't got enough weight on that individual foot. So when you're moving across onto one foot, think about the center of gravity. That's quite important. So that's why I wanted to show that one. I did like it as well. This one was a great one as well, with toast popping out. There is sound to some of these, but it's a bit awkward to work it with me talking as well. Sorry about that. And the toast popping out, great idea. And yeah, rig from the 11-second club, so that looks quite interesting. So only a few there. It would have taken me a long time to get through them all, so I'm sorry if I've, in fact I know I've missed absolute masses, but I did look at them all. It's much easier on Facebook because I can just press like, but on Discord I have to sort of go into the add reaction and then add a smiley face. It's a bit awkward, and I was kind of running out of time. I'm really sorry, but I am looking at all your work, and I'm sure other people are as well. But those are the sort of best of, so well done to you guys. Hopefully you're getting something from this, and you're still enjoying it. Sorry about all the problems exporting to Sketchfab. I'll probably do a video about those things and how we can get around them later on. But until then, till the next time, happy animating.